Today we are going to begin the first of two chapters on statistics. Chapter 9 specifically addresses what a statistical question is and then helps you identify the different measures of center we can use as well as the measures of variation. Today we are going to be specifically talking about Lesson 9.1, the Introduction to Statistics, and this is on page 392 of your textbook. Our purpose today is to collect data on a statistical question so that we can identify tendencies and variations within the data. So first, let's talk about what statistics is, and then more specifically, what is a statistical question. Statistics is the science of collecting, organizing, analyzing, and interpreting data. A statistical question is one for which you do not expect to get a single answer. Instead, you expect a variety of answers, and you are interested in the distribution and tendency of those answers. So, for example, if I said, what is the favorite color of students in Mrs. Heeman's classes? That would be a statistical question. We would expect to get a wide variety of answers, not just one or two. Another example could be, how many brothers and sisters do these students in Mrs. Heeman's classes have? Once again, we're going to expect to get a wide variety of answers. Some students are going to have no siblings. Some students might have 5, 6, or more siblings than that. An example of a non-statistical question could be, do you like pizza? The only answers that I'm going to get to that question are yes or no. Let's take a look at the dot plot that we have down below on this page. And if you recall from elementary school, a dot plot uses a number line to show the number of times each value in a data set occurs. Now, if we take a look at this dot plot, dot plots always show the spread and distribution of a data set. So if we take a look at this dot plot, it gives us quite a bit of information. Some words that we might use to describe the data could be peak. Right here is the peak. The peak of the data is the place or space where the value that goes the highest, where most of the data occurs more than any other place. Another term we could use to describe this data set is a cluster. A cluster is where is most of the data located on the graph. Another word we could use to describe it is gap. A gap means within the data set, there's an open space between where some data points end and more begin. So if you notice over here, there's more data in addition to what's over on this side, but right here, there's a whole bunch of open space where no data occurs. Okay, let's talk about answering a statistical question. It says you conduct a science experiment on house mice. Your teacher asks you, what is the weight of a mouse? Is this a statistical question, and explain? Well, not all mice are going to weigh the same amount. You know, just like all people don't weigh the same amount. There's going to be some variation and differences. So, because we can anticipate or expect that the weights of mice will vary, it is a statistical question. So, part B says you weigh some mice and record the weights in grams in the table. Okay, so notice off to the left side here, we have a table with a bunch of weights. Now, while this table is nice and it gives us all of the data or information that we need, sometimes it's a lot easier to interpret or look at data if we put it on a dot plot. So, once again, we're going to take a look at a dot plot, and this happens to be the one that I had on the last page as well. And when I organize the table or the table's data into the dot plot, it's a lot easier to interpret it. So now we can put meaning to these peaks and clusters and gaps. I notice that there is a gap between 23 to 27. There is no data for 24, 25, or 26 grams. the peak, or where most of the data occurs more than any other location, is right here at 20 grams. The cluster, or where most of the data falls, I can see right here, is between 18 and 22. So once again, while there are some mice that weigh 27 and 28, that's not where most of the data lies. It's a lot more typical to be down around the 20 mark. So when I look at this data, I can see that most of the data is down around 20. And if I were to have to take a guess as to what the average weight would be of a mouse, I would say that most mice would weigh around 20 grams.